What is our third main topic today?
Vaughn writes in to say, Ezra Miller is in the news again. Not for anything new, just that they pled guilty in the court case. To me, it sounds like Ezra's getting off pretty easy. I know you have some background in this sort of stuff, so I wanted to see what you thought about the sentence. Thanks.
All right. Thanks a lot for saying that in, Vaughn. And so as you know, Ezra Miller has been getting themselves into trouble for the better part of a couple of years now. And it felt like every month and a half there would be a new thing, whether it was throwing chairs at people or choking somebody or breaking into somebody's bedroom or breaking into their house and stealing alcohol or the alleged grooming of a young girl or all this kind of stuff. Just, it was like greatest hits, one after the other, one after the other, one after the other. Well, you know, we were all very happy to see that Ezra Miller came and say, I've been acting kind of stupid and I need to take accountability. Good to see. Good to see. Well, the ramifications of these actions are now starting to play off. Ezra had to appear in court and was facing 3 charges. And I can't remember what one of them. One
Petty
of them was
larceny
and burglary,
and
trespassing.
And it was it was like of a burglary of an unoccupied residence.
Something along those lines. So what happened was Ezra Miller had initially pleaded not guilty. However, they did reach a plea bargain agreement and they changed their plea to guilty on the count of trespassing. And in exchange for that plea of guilty on trespassing, they dropped the other 2 charges. So this is what now happens with Ezra. Ezra is getting an 85 to 90, according to the court documents, Ezra is facing an 85 to 90 day suspended sentence with a probationary period of 1 year and a $500 fine. So a 90-day suspended sentence plus 1 year probation and a $500 fine. So our viewer writes in and is asking, is Ezra getting off light? Is Ezra getting off easy? There's a couple of things to keep in mind. I'm seeing some people complaining about that, but remember, this was not a court case covering the totality of all the trouble that Ezra has gotten themselves into over the past couple of years. This was about one specific incident. Now, a lot of times it's a lot better for the courts just to accept plea bargains because it saves the public a lot of money to do it that way. It gets rid of the idea of a long, prolonged, dragged out court case and blah, blah. The prosecution is happy to take a lesser charge. Sometimes so is the defendant if they know they don't have a good chance, and done. Now, this does not necessarily mean, just because Ezra got a suspended sentence, does not necessarily mean Ezra will avoid any jail time. Because as a suspended sentence, Ezra Miller, and I have not seen the document of what the conditions are going to be of the suspended sentence, but Ezra Miller is going to have to abide by a parole and a certain set of guidelines that Ezra's going to have to follow. Because a judge at any time, the state can go back to subpoena the judge to take a look at Ezra again. And because if Ezra violates any of the terms, then the judge says, great, that suspended sentence is no longer suspended. Mm-hmm. And Ezra could end up doing a little bit of jail time on this. But again, I want to emphasize to people who think that's all Ezra Miller got for all this stuff. No, this is what Ezra Miller got for this one particular thing. And I go ahead.
And because he hasn't been convicted of anything else, you can't use that against him. Like you have shown a track record, like this came first. Mm-hmm. So that's why also.
So it's going to be interesting to see what kind of ramifications this has going forward. Will some people say, well, okay, good, that got settled and forget about everything else? I think Ezra still has hurdles that Ezra's going to have to deal with, and still end up getting jail time. Somebody was asking me, well, now that this is settled and it's all that serious, do you think that increases the chances of Ezra coming back to play Flash? No, nothing will change the odds of Ezra Miller coming back to play Flash.
He might play Harry Potter.
Could be Potter.
Oh my God.
He is in the Wizarding World after all, his character. Guys, we want to thank one of the sponsors of this video, DraftKings. Guys, the NFL playoff picture is now locked in, and your go-to place for wild card round action is DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. So to kick off the road to Super Bowl 57, new customers can bet just $5 and get $200 in free bets instantly. Plus, All new and existing customers can get a no-sweat bet each day of the wild card round this weekend. Just place any NFL bet of your choice, and if it loses, you'll get a free bet back up to $10. Action so good, why bet NFL playoffs anywhere else? And if it were me, I wouldn't be betting against the Bills or the Bengals right now. So guys, download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use the code Campea, C-A-M-P-E-A. New customers can bet $5 on the NFL and get 200 in free bets instantly. Only at DraftKings Sportsbook with the code Campea. Minimum age and eligibility restrictions apply. See show notes for details. So anyway, Rob, you hear about this, had to plead guilty on one of the lesser charges, could still end up doing a little bit of jail time unless, they behave themselves for the next year or so. Anyway, you saw this. What's your takeaway?
Well, I think they made the smart move. I think this is something, you can be cynical about this. They accepted responsibility. They declared themselves guilty. I think that shows that there's something going on. There's help being gotten here by them. And I think that, look, I understand that we always like to see people pilloried. It's fun. But in the case of Ezra Miller, they had something going on in their lives that we don't understand and don't really know what was going on. I just want to see people get help, get the help they need, and take responsibility and stand up for what they've done. And it seems to me, at least this is a beginning. And of course, the cynic in me is like, well, the studio mandated all of this to happen. They've got their investment they have to protect. I understand that too. That's probably a part of this. But I always like to see anybody stepping up, taking responsibility for what they've done, and move forward. So to me, look, there is, as you pointed out, the possibility of jail time. That's always out there. But let's hope that they've got the help they need and the movie can come out, we can all enjoy it, and we can move forward.
Yeah, and by the way, I want to remind people, there is a difference between feeling empathy for someone and somehow thinking that there doesn't have to be any consequences. Like, I am very much in what the both Rob's saying. They absolutely, Ezra Miller has to face consequences and will. This is just the start of, there are going to be other consequences to come, and has to answer and take responsibility for the stuff that has happened. That'll be determined by courts moving forward and all that kind of stuff. But you can believe that and yet also hope that they get better, hope that they end up being a better contributor to society and all that kind of stuff. One does not exclude the other. Like I remember saying once, I'm really happy that Ezra Miller is now getting help. And somebody said, so you think they should go scot-free? No, I completely believe the opposite, but I'm happy they're getting, you need to feel both.
Nor does it negate any of our desire for the victims or alleged victims to get help too.
Yeah.
Saying we want someone to get help so that they can stop hurting other people doesn't mean we don't want the other people that were hurt not to get help either. Obviously.
And our legal system is based on, once you have faced the music and done whatever time you have to do, that you've paid your debt to society. So let the legal system do what it does. I mean, if you believe in that legal system, then it's important to abide by what the legal system then, and I understand sometimes our legal system doesn't work the way it's supposed to, but for the most part, it does.
And Aaron, you heard about these developments. What do you think's going on here?
Well, I agree with a lot of what you both have said. Not everything, but a lot of it. The reality also that I think that we need to be very clear about is that, so there were 3 charges. And as happens with pretty much every person who gets arrested, they have a choice to plead not guilty, which Ezra initially did. And then a lawyer comes in and they do all their lawyer talk and and the 2 lawyers work together and they try to figure out, okay, what's the best deal for my client? And then they go back to the client and they go, okay, you can plead not guilty to all 3 of these things. One of those things being a felony burglary charge that had 25 years in prison as a potential sentence.
Yep.
And go, okay, Ezra, you can choose to go not guilty on all of these, and then take this to court, and then you can be made an example out of, and you can risk going to prison for 25 years. Or the court has agreed that if you don't waste their time and you don't waste their money, you can do a plea deal and plead guilty to one of these, and we will drop the others. That happens in almost every single court case where a person is offered the opportunity to do a plea deal and you have to say, yeah, I'm guilty of something, and they'll drop the charges of the other things. So in this case, he pled guilty to trespassing. Trespassing is a misdemeanor in the state of Vermont. And the maximum sentence for this misdemeanor in the state of Vermont is 3 months in jail and a $500 fine. He got the maximum penalty for what he pled guilty to in exchange for them dropping the other 2 charges. So it's not like he got off easy. He got the maximum sentence for this misdemeanor. Now, I know that people are saying, well, if he were this and he were that, yeah, I get it. The justice system does not work the way it's supposed to, in my opinion, a lot of the times. And people are very unfairly treated for a lot of reasons. But in this case, and this, as Jonathan Boyko pointed out, this is only the first. And this is just the one where he broke into his neighbor's house.
And this is only about the one
and
incident.
Stole a couple of bottles of booze. A neighbor who he's known for 18 years, who was kind of like, we've been friends for a long time. He probably was like, listen, I don't want to push this. He was probably like, listen, do whatever you need to do, but I don't want this to blow up into a thing. He was not the woman who was strangled in Hawaii or in Iceland, wherever that happened. I don't even know if that is being taken to court.
I don't know if that's settled out of court. I don't know what happened.
Right, we don't know what happened with Iceland. That's still, he may still
I don't think that's been wrapped up yet.
Yeah, exactly. So there's still the Iceland story of the strangulation. There's still the 2 arrests that were made in Hawaii where he broke into the couple's home and was standing over them, threatening them. That has not been talked about yet. This is only the beginning. And so I'm pretty sure that they're like, listen, you don't want to start going up against a 25-year felony charge because this is the beginning of the road for you, Ezra. You got a long road to go. So let's try to, and yes, Ezra is probably going to be minding their P's and Q's and being really nice and not getting into trouble. Let's hope for the sake of everyone around them. Until all of these court cases get settled. But this is just the beginning. So anybody saying, oh, Ezra's getting off easy, just wait. Just wait. And remember, this is a misdemeanor. And they got the maximum sentence possible.
To which some people will ask, and this happens in most court cases, people will ask, well, why did they let Ezra off so easy by dropping the other 2 charges? Well, because the more serious charges are harder to get convictions on.
Right.
So if you're the prosecutor in this, you're thinking, you know what? We get our plea, we get them to plead guilty, and we don't have to worry about that because, there is a risk that like you mentioned the risk for Ezra, but there's also a risk for the prosecutor.
Yeah.
That the harder we go at this, the greater the chances we could come away with nothing. So anyway, this thing ain't over. Guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? Ezra has pled guilty to trespassing, is now facing a suspended sentence, a year-long probation. They don't behave themselves. They could end up in jail for a little bit. And who knows how this affects other court cases that'll come down the road, and how many will there come? We don't know. Whatever you guys are thinking right now, jump down to the comment section below and leave your thoughts there.